really cool session because this is about innovation, and we talk about it a lot, but I really wanted to spotlight something that I thought was really interesting and was happening, in the consumer world at the same time, kind of taking, clinical things, studies, things like that, and kind of funneling them in a new way to consumers. So this session is all about how do we flip what we already have on its head and deliver something completely new to consumers that they really, really need. And what I thought was cool was that it's literally something we will all use in our lifetime. So let me introduce to you Tal Givoly, the CEO of Medivizor. He flew literally all the way from Israel. He might look all grown up to you, but he's still a kid at heart. He still plays roller hockey twice a week on a team with 10-year-olds. You must stand out. Yes, he is the self-appointed assistant coach for his son's team. Welcome, Tal Givoly, to the stage.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill. Okay, is this on? Great. So just a quick question. Before coming to here and before listening to me, how many here don't know anything about Medivizor? Please raise your hand. You're the right crowd. Excellent. Because I wouldn't expect you to, by the way. It's a very new product, very new service. We're just live for a few months, still only in early access mode, but we're getting such exciting feedback that I thought that we have to start spreading the word about this. And this is the first time we're actually talking about this on a stage. So you'll be able to say, I've seen it in San Diego before anybody else heard about this. So you're on the first reveal. So, and you'll see why this is radically different in a minute. This is, as Jill said, something that is relevant for every one of us because whether we like it or not, whenever somebody has a serious illness or a chronic condition, and not just us, of course, most families, the first place they go to, even before friends and family, is typically the internet. And that's a very overwhelming experience. And it's not as effective and efficient as it could be. And I'll tell you this through a specific story here. But you could imagine that this is related to everyone in every different case. But this is a specific case. So I'd like to introduce Lena. And Lena is not a fictitious person. Lena is a real person. This is Lena when she's 28 years old. She's 3 years married. And she is basically starting to live her small family life with her husband. She's in marketing. And they decide, let's build our family, invent our future, and then suddenly life steps in. Basically, her mother gets diagnosed with breast cancer. And as a result of that, she gets tested too, because her mother had BRCA1 gene. So she goes and gets tested. And as a result of that, she's discovered to have breast cancer. The only problem is that Lena, at this stage, is already 2 months pregnant. So she's immediately thrown into the mix of, out of being perfectly healthy, just beginning to build her life and her family, realizing her dreams, and then she's thrown into this mix. She is both a patient and a caregiver at that stage to her mother. And what happens is that they get immediately overwhelmed with all the choices to be made. It used to look like this, right? Where you'd have all these papers and find them. But right now it actually looks like this. You spend hours and hours on the internet. I spoke personally to people that after 6 months of spending 6 to 7 hours a day on the internet researching their loved one's medical condition, had to scale that back because life cannot go on like that. So, and by the way, ePatient Dave says it nicely. He puts it like this. There's this graph of information flow and confusion. And too little information, lots of confusion. Too much information, lots of confusion. It's finding that sweet spot of just the right amount of information, just the right information, just the right way delivered that actually gets to clarity and being able to take shared decision making. We used to be 1980 back on this side. Now we're way on the other side of the spectrum. And it takes something now to scale that back. So what should Lena do? I mean, the choices she has is, first recommendation was to stop her pregnancy and begin immediately with aggressive treatment. She had to make, there was choices of chemotherapy that can be given up to some stage. There's choices about mastectomy. Okay, all of these choices she has to make, she becomes quickly an expert in this field. Eventually, she chooses to continue with the pregnancy and undergo chemo with an understanding of the risks involved to the child. So now the problem is not just with patients. Actually, doctors face the same problem. Why would we think that they could cope with more than 5,000 published research in every area of specialty and figure out what's relevant for that, or even just stay abreast? In fact, just 2 days ago in the New York Times, there's this op-ed piece by a professor from Harvard Medicine School, Jerry Avern, that says, "Healing the Overwhelmed Physician," saying it would take basically dozens of hours each week just for the conscientious doctor just to know what's going on in his field. Are we really expecting that to happen? It looks like this, really, their problem. They have thousands of published research, hundreds of clinical trials going on, and they need to match them with the hundreds of patients, tens to hundreds of patients that they meet. And what they need to know, what is relevant for these people. Obviously, that's practically impractical. Now, the most frustrating case is that when somebody comes into their patient appointment and brings in these Google printouts, these are the empowered patients, we want them to have new information. The problem is that 90% of what they bring in is irrelevant. So this ends up being frustrating on all parts. You're embarrassing to some degree the professionalism of the doctor. The doctor then needs to weigh in on that, and you've lost your appointment, while he, at page 29 of that research paper, discovers why that was irrelevant for you, because some of exclusion. Why would that have to be like that? There's pharmaceutical companies. They struggle to find candidates for clinical trials as the #1 delay cause for clinical trials and cost. Medical centers have services and products that they want to actually market and bring patients to. They can't get that. The problem is significant. Actually, I don't need to tell you this, but the one point I wanted to say here is every year we add between, I estimate, 7 and 30 million researchers. I'm talking about the web researchers to the world. 5,000, today I learned that 5,000 people a day get diagnosed with diabetes. Another 4,500 get diagnosed with cancer every day in the US alone. And each one of them immediately gets into the throe of this problem. So if we were to reimagine this and start from scratch, how would we do that? And that's what we basically started doing. When I say we, it's two folks that are I'm a software developer from the age of 13. My partner is from business, and another partner of ours is a professor at Cornell and a leading urologist. And we all came to this from different perspectives. But how would we reimagine it? And we did that. So first, it would have to be an intuitive experience, both for the person that's coping with this, the patient or the caregiver, but it also have to be that for the doctors or the medical institutions. The first thing they want is to know the state of the art, right? Give me all the information I need, but just give me the latest. I don't want to see 80 million results of what was the treatment for prostate cancer 3 years ago, which was what you'll still find if you go into the internet. And then I'd like to stay abreast. I'd like to know what are my treatment options, how they change. Any new information, any new clinical trial, any new treatment in my area, anything wrong with the medications I'm taking. I'd like to know about that, and I'd like to know it in a way that I can understand. Don't tell me if I need 20 years of education in order to understand that. I need to understand it in my language, in words I understand. And really, I want the peace of mind to know that if anything new in the world is happening, my medical team knows about it. That's not true today. They don't. If any new research gets published and it's particularly relevant to a particular case, nobody tells that doctor. So how could it be done? It's a combination of combining technology, semantically mapping the profile of the individual, their case, understanding the comorbidities, what they have in addition to other diseases, what is their life situation, to sift through all the information that comes in, match that with patient insights, what people find as relevant to them, make that understandable to people, and doctors to vet the information and associate all these things. So it's a really combination, and it's done with crowdsourcing and technology, patent-pending technology. So that's what we've basically done with Medivizor. Let's see. I won't go through a full demo, but you could, by the way, go in and log in online and sign up for the service and try it yourself if you have enough information about the medical conditions. I'll just quickly show you how it looks. People basically go into a service on the web. They fill in a medical profile, HIPAA compliant. They don't give us any identifiers of themselves, but they do fill in a rather comprehensive profile that is designed to understand only the important aspects of their condition, only things that could distinguish new information from others. And today we support breast cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, melanoma, diabetes. At the end of this month, we're adding lung cancer and 75 to 80% of cardiovascular disease. So they fill in a profile, and from this point on, after they fill in a profile that's explained to them, they start getting only information that's personalized to them, but in a language they understand. So for instance here, this doesn't, oh, there it is. This summary of this journal article is basically one of the main products of what we provide the people in a way that 10th grade English graduates can understand. Now that doesn't cover everybody, but it covers about 90% of the population in the US. It's not yet globally relevant, but this is something that 10th grade English readers can understand. And that's one of the main values people see in this. Now this is where the crowdsourcing comes in. We've set an expectation that everything you receive is relevant. So they tell us if it's not. And that immediately goes back to improve the engine so that those matches are more appropriate. And 80% of our users actually let us know about this all the time on every item they receive. They could share it with their medical team because it doesn't help to come in and surprise your doctor if you could give them a heads up about what you're going to talk to them about. And in fact, near future, the doctor will have a notification to that. But first, consumers are going to have this value. So what's the reaction that we're getting? These are things written by people that commented on public internet. I'd largely given up on searching for the info on my own. I'm impressed by the comprehensive content. Fantastic. Never seen this elsewhere. And we have a lot of these. I love Medivizor. And this is just from the few people, because if you don't know about it, remember, most people don't know about it. And in fact, it's not just these people. They've told bloggers and influencers. And this is just an example. You've seen the poster outside. That's Anne-Maritza Sorella. She's a blogger that has a blog, Chemo Brain Fog. And she loves us. She's willing to do anything for us. And all our users are like that, actually. And these are things that bloggers have written about us just over the last couple of months. And again, they didn't get any heads up almost about this. Okay, all these have written amazing stuff about us. So back to Lena, you're probably wondering so you know what she decided to do. She decided to go get chemo to treat the cancer, obviously get the lumps removed and so on. Thankfully, she did end up producing and giving birth to a very great kid of hers. Now, a year and a half later, here in this picture, and already thinking about the continuation of this story. Lena is so, she's now both a caregiver and a user of Medivizor, both for herself and for her mother on the system, that she's basically said, you know, use my story. I want everybody to know about this. So before I end, I just wanted to let you know why are we here, because basically we're looking for ways to partner with people. And there's a lot of great people that are trying to innovate in this arena of consumer health, of getting education. So we're open to partnerships. We'd like to see how we could distribute this, how people could get to know about us, how we might help your products and services become better by having a richer profile about users. We think that the excitement about Medivizor by our user base is 94% recommend Medivizor. 87% of them say it's because of the personalization, and I think it's something like 80% say it's because of they understand the information that they get. And that's something that most people don't get right now on the internet. And they only get, by the way, just information that's relevant to them. And that's radically different than 87 or 280 million results that they get anywhere else. So I do have another 20 seconds for one question at least. Anybody? Yeah, over there.
Mainstream medical treatment and or combine it with alternative possibilities?
Right. So first of all, we're trying to bring stuff from the best evidence, the highest impact factor. We rate everything based on the relevance and importance to potential users, which depends on their conditions. So that's all done to classify what information is more relevant to that person. But then it's just provided as information, right? They need to discuss that with their medical team. In the future, we think to add more alternatives. But right now, for instance, some of the information could be, right now we're already informing them about clinical trials. Soon it's going to be community resources, local support groups. We have their location. We have a lot of their information to see if we can match them with other people like them and so on and so forth. So you can see how this is going. And obviously, and everything is opt-in. So we never share their information with anybody. They choose to connect each and every time. Yeah?
So is the information that you provide, is it referenced so that the sophisticated consumer or even health professionals can go to the next level and actually look at the source information or the journal article?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we even give them a link directly to the article so they could purchase it or view it. Many of the articles that are included are actually free, but some of them are paid journals that they may need to pay between $10 and $30 per article. But they know the price in our system, and they could go directly to the publisher and get that article. Any other question? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. One more.
Is there any post information that's derived from this, in other words, outcomes?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The post outcome of the Medivizor user. In other words, are they going to be able to post information? So when I said that this is crowdsourced, each one of those items becomes basically a discussion item among the group, and there's lively discussions within Medivizor between people, often anonymously, saying I'm in this clinical trial, I'm part of this is my experience. They're discussing that, they're sharing their outcomes, and by the way, we prompt them to change their status as things evolve based on our predictive models. So they are prompted to update, fill in missing information, get that information, and continue to update it. So the result is that we have a current profile, and we have an evolution of that profile. So the answer is we have that.
One more question? Sure.
Sorry. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that it's important to have the right kind and balanced information. Too much information, too little information could cause confusion. Question, when you source those relevant articles, do you go by keywords or do you have a doctor or somebody who is an expert in certain subject to say, hey, this is good, this is not good?
Yeah. We have a medical team of more than 15 doctors around the world, led by Professor Kaplan, our chief medical officer. They vet both the source journals, the publications, as well as the evidence for each material. We coach it, by the way. There's a bottom line, and there's also our disclaimers that we explain what's wrong with the study and so on. And one more thing, science changes. Everyone that ever received an item in Medivizor will be notified when there's something that contradicts or updates that science. So the minute you got it and you made any conclusion based on that, or you talked about it, you'll be updated as well. So it keeps everybody up to date on that and notifies them because it's relevant to them. Okay, thank you very much.